Hello, this is the August 2022 video edition of the Iowa General Fund Monthly Revenue Memo. I'm Jeff Robinson, Senior Fiscal Analyst for the Iowa Legislative Services Agency, the nonpartisan support agency of the Iowa Legislature. This video will cover Iowa net general fund revenue for cash fiscal year 2023 through September 2nd, and I will also review how final fiscal year 2022 net revenue is shaping up as the books on that year move towards closure later in the month of September. Cash fiscal year 2023 Iowa net general fund revenue increased $13 million through September 2nd, when compared to the same period last year, a percentage increase of just under 1%. The low growth rate was driven by a 4% decrease in sales and use tax deposits, combined with a $45 million decrease in the tax suspense account balance since the start of the cash fiscal year. On the positive side, individual and corporate income tax deposits have been strong since July 1st. State accounting for fiscal year 2022 is winding down and will be complete by the end of September. At the June 30 conclusion of the cash year, gross general fund revenue was $435 million above projections. Individual income tax produced almost 70% of the excess. A $45 million balance in the suspense account, included in this table under other taxes, also contributed significantly. The end of August means tax refund amounts are final for fiscal year 2022. Tax refunds for the fiscal year finished $225 million lower than the March REC refund projection, and a lower level of refunds translates to additional net revenue for the fiscal year. This next table shows the two known items, cash year receipts and tax refunds, along with the three remaining net revenue unknowns. Combined, the two known items represent $660 million in net revenue above the March projections. While fiscal year 2022 ended June 30 and refunds processed and charged to fiscal year 22 ended August 31st, some transactions related to fiscal year 2022 will continue to be processed in September. And at this time, three areas of accounting transactions remain open. First, the transfer out of the 6 cents of sales tax that Iowa devotes to local school district infrastructure has one more adjusting transaction that will occur before the item is final. For fiscal year 2022, the transfers are budgeted to remove a total of $605 million from the net general fund revenue. Through the end of August, school infrastructure transfers totaled $571 million. The amount of the final fiscal year 2022 transfer that will be made in September is not predictable. During the past 10 years, the September transfer has averaged $7 million. But the amount has ranged over those years from a negative transfer of $8 million for fiscal year 17 to last year's positive transfer out of almost $37 million. Second, accrued revenue, meaning revenue that arrives after June 30 but is properly associated with economic and tax activity that occurred during fiscal year 22, needs to be calculated, and deposits made in July and August split between fiscal year 22 and 23. For fiscal year 22, this adjustment is budgeted to add $19 million to final revenue. While it is not possible to predict with any certainty whether the accrued revenue adjustment will fall above or below the projected positive $19 million level, transactions recorded in July and August do indicate that the accrual adjustment will reduce the amount that final fiscal year 2022 net revenue will finish above projections. Finally, transfer revenue is projected to total $125 million for the fiscal year. Through the end of August, transfer revenue is $15 million below the projected amount, and this is largely due to the lack of an expected transfer from the Commerce Revolving Fund. The current balance in the Commerce Fund indicates the annual transfer, when made, will cover the current $15 million deficit in the transfer line. To summarize, cash fiscal year 23 net revenue growth through September 2nd was low at just under 1%, with individual and corporate tax growth strongly positive, while sales tax and the tax suspense account weighed on year-to-date growth. Towards the end of September, the state will close the books on fiscal year 22 and distribute the July and August revenue between that fiscal year and fiscal year 2023. Final adjustments to the school infrastructure and transfer amounts are also expected later in the month. Once the accounting closure process is complete, we will have final results for fiscal year 22. Given that higher cash receipts and lower refunds currently put the net revenue excess at $660 million, it is clear that fiscal year 22, just like the previous year, will end well above projections. Thank you very much for your time and interest in Iowa General Fund revenue. Goodbye, and please check out the next monthly video memo that will be posted in early October. For that video, I will review final fiscal year 22 net revenue, and we will have the first look at fiscal year 23 on a fiscal year basis.